Good morning, everyone. What a beautiful day here in Manatee County. This is why people move here left and right, I guess, right? Welcome to the March 19th School Board of Manatee County regular board meeting. I want to first move to the reading of the district's vision by Board Member Messenger, and then you've also got the introduction for the invocation.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, the School District of Manatee County will be an exemplary, student-focused school system that develops lifelong learners to be globally competitive. And it is my honor to introduce Mr. Michael Hartman today for our invocation. He so graciously agreed to come. He has become a volunteer and a staple at so many of our meetings, so thank you for being here.
Will you please stand?
And picking up where Mr. Choate just so eloquently shared, I just want to thank the Lord for this is the day that he has made. So Father, we come to you in the mighty name of Jesus. And I just thank you for every man and woman in this room and all the people that they represent, whether it's for an outside business that comes here to do work for the school district, whether it's a teacher, staff. Father God, many times people do their daily jobs, and it's a struggle, it's a strain because there's so many things that they have to do. But yet, Father God, you've equipped every man and every woman with a special gift, a special calling. So I pray, just as you said in the day when you left this earth, you said, tarry in the city of Jerusalem until you be endued with power from on high. So I pray, Father God, that the power of your Holy Spirit would enlighten every one of us, Father God. And especially, Father God, we talk about what's going on in this world, in our own country. Father God, we need to get back to you. So I pray, Father God, as you said in Hebrews chapter 1, that it'll come to pass, Father God. We've already been in the last days, and in the book of Joel said that you would pour out of your Spirit. So I just speak a blessing, Father God. I speak blessing. I speak that insight and the things that we need to do so that we could be a blessing to other people. And we just thank you for it, Father, in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. You join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Hartman. Is he already gone? He's already gone?
Yeah.
Prayed and peaced. So let's move to the approval of the agenda. The chair has found good cause to amend the agenda, including all items listed under agenda amendments on the March 19th, 2024 agenda, updated yesterday, March 18th, and posted to the district website, manateeschools.net. Do I have a motion?
So moved. I'll second.
And I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No, we're going to have to vote manually because I had to do a new password. And I don't know which one I want to do yet. So all those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Approval of the minutes. Dr. Weissong.
Good morning, Chair Choate and board members. I recommend approval of the minutes from the school board meeting dated February 13th, 2024.
So moved.
We have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. No discussion. So again, manually, I'm almost done with it. If you're for the approval of the minutes, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Seeing none opposed, carries 5-0. And moves us to recognitions. Mr. Barber. I can do my password.
Thank you, Mr. Board Chair and board members and Dr. Weishall. Okay. All right. The good news today is we're celebrating the work of the social workers in the school district of Manatee County. And here to help us do that is Director of Student Services, George Schreier. So we're glad to have him here. But the month of March is Social Work Month. And by the way, as we're speaking, they'll be showing some photos of our social workers at work and together so you can see them. But the month of social work, or the month of March is Social Work Month according to the National Association of Social Workers. The School District of Manatee County employs 31 social workers, most of whom work at multiple schools or sites, and they serve as a link between our schools, students, families, and community. School social workers are exceptionally skilled in providing services to students who face serious challenges to school success, including disability, poverty, discrimination, abuse, neglect, mental illness, homelessness, bullying, family stressors, and other barriers to learning. So to tell us more about what social workers do and how they do it, we have the lead of school social workers in the school district, Valerie Morrison. So Valerie.
Thank you. I brought with me this morning a couple of colleagues, Jamira Sestero and Marisol Chang, who will be speaking briefly as well. In our role as school social workers, we work hard with students to increase academic performance. In the past few years, we have seen a significant increase in our counseling time across all grade levels. To help you understand the amazing work school social workers have already done this year, we've compiled a few highlights accomplished from the beginning of school in August until February. 1,123 are the number of students who have received counseling from itinerant social workers. Over 178,000 minutes have been spent counseling students. 797 ESE or 5 or 4 evaluations have been completed by social workers. 222 home visits have been conducted by school social workers, and the number of district crisis stabilization team responses at schools has been 6.
So recently, one of our coworkers, Marisol Chang, had the opportunity to accompany her brother. It's someone she fondly refers to as Mikey, as her brother, to a Florida school. The rest of us, we all refer to him as the U.S. Secretary of Education, Miguel Cardona. And he, with Marisol's experience at the school, she shared it with all of us school social workers at one of our meetings, and it truly underscores the importance of mental health services for our students. And we've asked her here to join us today so that she could share her experience with the Secretary of Education in that Florida school. Marisol?
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, as Jeremiah just shared, my name is Marisol Chang, and I'm a school social worker here with the district. And in January, I had the distinct privilege of touring the guided visitation of the 1200 building of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, where, as you know, 17 people were killed and 17 more were injured during a school shooting on Valentine's Day, 2018, 6 years ago. For those 6 years, that building has remained untouched. So being able to go through it, we were able to see the chaos that was left behind. The Valentine's Day gifts, deflated balloons, the random shoes that were strewn about, open notebooks, the shattered glass, the bullet holes, the bloodstained floor where those victims lie, bleeding, gasping for their last breath. It's an image in my mind that will never, it's seared in there, will never leave my mind. And it just really highlights the importance of mental health supports in our schools. After the guided visitation, I was able to hear from a survivor who shared that after graduation, they were left to kind of fend for themselves and figure out what was right for them. Instead of somebody asking, what do you need? Again, just highlighting the importance of adequate mental health supports in our schools, that we can't provide it, we can refer them to the specialized providers as indicated. So being an itinerant mental health provider with the district means that we're assigned to 2 or 3 schools, sometimes more, where we're there 1, maybe 2 days during the week. And during our time there, very easily half of that day could be spent in meetings. We're also evaluating for 504 or ESE services. And again, it just leaves insufficient time to really work with the students and the mental health supports that are so desperately needed. Our students many of our students experience trauma or adverse childhood experiences that impact them each and every day. And while they may not be to us at the caliber of a school shooting, for them it impacts them significantly. These are persistent, complex traumas that they experience, such as abuse, domestic violence, witnessing domestic violence, or community violence. And each of those yield a student or a child that comes into our doors every single day in need of additional supports. I cannot stress the importance of having a full-time social worker at each school. It really would allow us to be an integral part of that school community, really allow us to know our student body, to know our families, their families, so we know how best to support them. And just imagine how that can impact our students, from improving their attendance to ultimately improving student academic outcomes. So it really is a win-win. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. We thank all of our all the 31 social workers in the district, and we wish that more could be here this morning, but they're out doing their job. So we appreciate the ones that could be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. And that moves us to item number 8, public comments. I have one general public comment, and Melton Little, come on up.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
I had given a set of packages. It's a nomination form. I don't know if each board member has it. I hope so. It's nice to see you all this morning. I only have 3 minutes, so I'm going to talk really, really fast. First of all, I want to recognize some people before I start. If you look at the 3rd page of the package, you'll see the sign that now exists at Bayshore High School. Gene Brown was sitting at the Boys and Girls Club across the street. He looked out and saw a sign that was nothing but empty plywood. He came up with the idea of we should be able to fill this sign up with community support that will help support Bayshore and Bayshore athletics. Each one of the top people on the sign committed to $1,000 a year for 5 years. The 2 bottom, right and left, committed to $750 a year for 5 years in order to help Bayshore athletics. And also paid for the sign. And I'll mention that Gene Brown put each one of those signs up by himself with a cherry picker on a Sunday, with me standing at the bottom just looking up going, what can I do? And him saying, stay out of the way. So I also want to recognize Principal Wendell Butler, who's been very supportive of the process. He appointed a committee to review the nominating process, and Don French was chair of the committee. Both of them are here. Athletic Director Chris Brady was very supportive. He's not here, but I need to mention him. And also one of the people who stepped up and donated, Scott Isherwood, who I think was a freshman when I was a senior at Bayshore, from Isherwood Ventures. You'll see his name up on the sign. So thank you to all the community partners that did that. As far as naming the field, there was a reason for that. The naming of the field came about as we discussed what we could do in addition for the dollars for the students. And we have Meckley Field at Southeast, we have Canaan Field at Manatee, but we didn't have a name for the field at Bayshore. It's Balvance Stadium because Balvance was generous enough to build it for Bayshore High School. In my days, we played at Manatee, but we wanted to do something that gave the students that were there, that were participating in athletics or participating on that field or in band or in track or just coming to watch in the stands, some sense of the fact that there was a history to the school and that there were people who had been there serving students long before they came, and we wanted to kind of get something going for them for a little bit of the history. As for the nomination process, I have to come. It goes to your board or your department, and then 60 days later we can vote. And we've suggested that, and it's been approved by and signed by Mr. Butler, that we name the field Plaster Green Field. Tommy Plaster taught and coached at Bayshore High School from 1979 to 2009. In his time at Bayshore, he coached football, golf, supervised weight training, was chairman of the PE department for 16 years, taught countless students, including me, sadly enough, how to drive and driver's ed. He was always available for the students and the athletes. He impacted the lives of thousands of students at Bayshore. Prior to Bayshore, he was in the district at Manatee. Can I have an additional 30 seconds?
Yeah, I'm gonna give you additional 30 seconds.
Okay. Prior to that, he was in the district at Manatee, and I can say personally he's one of the three greatest male influences in my life: my father, Carl Weeks, and Tommy Plaster. So were the people I looked most up to. Coach Dan Green is a member of the Bayshore Athletic Hall of Fame. He taught and coached at Bayshore for 36 years before retiring in 2020, so we'll need a supermajority of the board because he's been out less than 5 years to name it after him. During his career, he coached baseball, soccer, volleyball, and wrestling. He led the boys' soccer and baseball team to regional playoff berths. He's the only coach to qualify two team sports to regional playoffs in the same year. In soccer, he was two-time Coach of the Year, leading the Bruins to 5 district championships and 1 regional title, with his 94 team reaching the Final Four. And he also spent 6 years every Friday with me in the booth doing play-by-play for Bayshore on 1490 AM.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep. Item number 9, that was it for public comment. And move to item number 9, reports and presentations. Mr. Jensen.
Good afternoon, Chair Choate, board members, Superintendent Wysong. I'm here with our curriculum directors, Allison Nichols and Shannon Fleming, to talk about our summer programs in professional learning. A lot of people think that when summer comes, the district becomes a very quiet place. But as you know, the district is actually very, very active over the summer, continuing learning for many of our students and continuing learning for many of our teachers and school administrators as well. So I'm excited to have the curriculum leaders here to share a slice of that summer programming and professional learning with you today, and all the opportunities that our students and teachers will have. And prior to Allison kind of beginning that process with you and sharing that information, I just wanted to put up some of the alignment we have to the strategic plan. The strategic plan contains many objectives and many goals related to the work that's going to be happening over the summer. I'm not going to read each one verbatim, but there's goals related to student achievement up there, goals related to increasing the training and capacity of our teachers and school leaders, and goals related to employee retention there as well that I think all of this programming will hit. So without further ado, I'll let Allison start sharing that with you.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so our summer programs provide many different opportunities for our staff and for our students. So first and foremost, our students, the programs provide that extended instructional time starting in pre-K all the way through 12th grades. You'll see later in the presentation, we have many different opportunities for all grade levels. And in addition, for our students, we're able to minimize instructional gaps that we know often can occur in the summer when they are not in school. For staff, the programs provide opportunities for teachers, paraprofessionals, aides, nurses, guardians, food service staff, bus drivers, occupational and physical therapists, speech pathologists, and even school counselors to have additional paid days of work in the summer. And then also for instructional staff, all of the programs offer at least a couple days of professional learning prior to the programs. So then the staff is able to get some additional strategies and resources that they can then apply and utilize with their students during the school year. So kind of a win-win all the way around with that built-in professional learning. So first I'm going to take you through some of the summer programs that are a statutory requirement. So the first one is third grade summer reading camp. This is for our retained third graders. It is a requirement by the state that we hold this. We will be holding it this year at 14 sites. It is a little bit more spread out this year than in previous years, but we wanted to try and hold it at more sites to allow for easier transportation and getting students to that program. So just some of the language in the rule around third grade summer reading camp. that it says we must provide those intensive interventions through the summer reading camp to all third grade students who score that level 1 and do not meet a good cause promotion. And that our classroom teachers who are hired to teach these students in the summer must be certified or endorsed in reading, and they also must be rated highly effective. So when we hire, we have to comply with those requirements. So in addition on programs that we have to offer per statute, you heard Dr. Halpin talk about the VPK program. So there is an option with the certificates or vouchers that families have. They can choose to utilize that during the school year, or they can choose to hold and utilize that voucher or that certificate in summer. So we will be holding the VPK program at Samoset Elementary this summer. Students have to have 300 hours of instruction in VPK. So the students who do elect, or the families who elect to send their children to summer VPK, they will have to physically, be in a seat basically for 300 hours in the summer. So that program does run pretty much from June 3rd all the way until the end of July to get those 300 hours in. In addition, this is a new statutory requirement. This will be the second summer that this was in statute. We are required to hold a Rising K summer program. This is for our current VPK students who have been identified as having a substantial deficiency in reading already in VPK. We are required to then offer some summer programs for additional learning in literacy, those early literacy skills in the summer. So that will also be held at Samoset Elementary this year. And then our last statutory program that we have to offer is our extended school year, or ESY. This is for our ESE students who have been identified through the IEP team, and it's documented on their IEP that ESY is appropriate for them. So they will attend, again, this is only for our ESE students that have it on their IEPs. And this is for our kindergartners through 12th graders. And it will be held at 2 sites this year, again, to try and help with transportation and get more students there, at Miller and then north of the river at Williams Elementary Schools. In addition, other offerings that we have that are not statutory requirements, but we just want to expand those summer opportunities. We hold a Title I camp for rising kindergartners, first graders, and second graders. The schools will structure the day with reading and math instruction, but then in addition to that, the students do field trips. So we partner with Dive Into Reading and the Suncoast Campaign for Grade Level Reading, where the students get to go to local restaurants, and there's volunteers there, and they read books with them. They get to eat at a restaurant, so they get practice ordering off of a menu, and just kind of some of those things that some of our students maybe don't get the opportunity to do on a regular basis. And then the other field trip that the rising second graders will get to take, we did this for the first time last summer. They will get to go out to Anna Marie Elementary and have a Guy Harvey experience. So we did this last summer, and it was amazing. You can see a couple of the pictures on the screen of the students from last summer going. They got to do some science experiments. They got to look closely at shark's teeth. They got to they didn't do the dip netting, the teacher did, but then they got to actually look at the things that they caught in the dip net under microscopes. And then they also embedded some art experiences, because we know that Guy Harvey is big with art as well. And then we also do a migrant summer camp for elementary students that will be held at Myakka Elementary for pre-K through 5th grade students. And the focus there is math and science in the morning, and then STEM opportunities in the afternoon at Myakka. In addition, for the first time this year, and this is in partnership with the Guy Harvey Foundation, and through the Guy Harvey appropriation that we received from the state, we will be holding several Guy Harvey summer camps for students at Anna Maria Elementary, King Middle, and Manatee High, and Shannon will talk more about the secondary offerings with this. But for the Anna Maria students, they will get to go to King Middle School for Shark Week. That's for 3rd through 5th grade students, where they'll get to have some in-depth experiences with how sharks benefit our oceans, right, and the health of our oceans. And then there'll be a separate week at Anna Marie Elementary where they'll do science at the beach, where they'll get to study just kind of the environment of the beach and all of those things that come with that beach area. And I'm going to turn over to Shannon.
Thank you. Good morning. All right, so our next summer offering is a bridge between elementary and secondary, and this is the Smarten Up Camp. This will be the 5th year that our district is offering this for rising 1st through 6th graders. This takes place at Lee Middle School and is hosted in partnership with the Manatee Arts Education Council. So students have the opportunity to explore dance, theater, orchestra, band, and media arts. Similar to some of the elementary offerings, we also offer Title I middle and high school summer bridge programs. This is to help students transition to middle school or to high school. And so there's a lot of focus on acclimating students to campus expectations, introducing them to key staff members, and also giving them an opportunity to work with some of their peers the summer before they enter middle or high school. So each of those programs differ a little bit at each site, but they all have the same general purpose. We also offer middle and high school rapid recovery, which is a credit recovery opportunity for students to get back on track academically over the summer towards middle school promotion and high school graduation. We also offer a migrant summer camp for secondary students. This year it will be held at Mona Jane Middle School. And this is a 4-week STEM-based program, and they focus on vocabulary, reading, writing, all through hands-on activities. And then we move to Camp Creator. Camp Creator is a focus on our English language learners. So our middle school students, we will be hosting this at Lincoln, Lee, and Mona Jane Middle School. Again, this is a STEM-focused offering, but this one focuses on middle school science standards. So they're focusing on science standards through hands-on activities. For the 2nd year in a row, we'll be offering our visual and performing arts camps for rising 6th through 9th graders. And we have 5 different camp offerings: art, band, orchestra, theater and dance are together, and then chorus. You can see the sites that will be offering those camps. This year we are splitting it into 2 different sessions to give students the opportunity to participate in more than one offering if they would like. And then, as Allison shared with elementary, we are excited to expand our Guy Harvey experiences and have camps for our career pathway sites, which is King Middle School and Manatee High School. So we'll be doing a Shark Week for middle school in addition to the Shark Week for elementary. And then we also have a Marine Careers Week for our high school students. Again, all in partnership with the Guy Harvey Foundation, funded through the appropriation with the state. We continue our driver's education throughout the summer. So this is a program where students are preparing for their driver's license exam. And then for the 2nd year, we will be doing the Career and Post-Secondary Exploration Program, which offers 11th and 12th grade students the opportunity to visit MTC, both the East and the main campus. They get a tour of the facility, they get to have hands-on experiences in all the various programs, and they even get to meet with the counselors in order to learn about enrollment requirements, funding for after high school, all of that post-secondary. So it's a great opportunity for our students. So I'm going to turn it back over to Allison.
So for our summer programs, this is just a little timeline. So we did put out an application for summer employment. That application window closed this past Friday. After spring break, so we have to give HR some time to pull together the spreadsheet of everybody who applied and just double check certifications. And then we'll start hiring for summer programs when we come back on April 8th, and you can see that window there. With a priority given to 3rd grade summer reading camp, ESY, and VPK, because those are those statutory requirements. So the hiring priority goes to those 3 first. Staff training for the summer programs, it will be May 30th and 31st. And then students will start in our summer programs on June 3rd. All programs will start that day, and then you'll see here in a second on another slide, there'll be various end dates for each program. The summer programs will run 4 days a week following the district calendar in the summer, so Monday through Thursday. We will be closed on June 19th, so that week we'll still run 4 days, but we'll have the programs running Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. And then all programs will be closed the week of July 1st. And then our summer professional learning. So we've got 3 kind of really big options going on this summer. So we have first our leadership conference that will be held July 17th and 18th. For all district leadership, school-based leadership, they will attend those 2 days, including the operations side, so not just instructional. Kind of a kickoff to the school year and to set the expectations for the school year and start that professional learning around leadership standards. And then that work will continue across the school year through principal meetings, AP meetings across the year monthly. And then our new educator orientation. This year we are going to expand it from 2 days to 3 days. That was with feedback from a lot of the new educators. They wanted to be able to have a little bit more time. It was a lot in 2 days and very overwhelming, as you can imagine. So we're expanding it to 3 days to give a little bit more time to help support those new educators before they actually step into the classroom. So that will happen July 23rd through the 25th. And then we are going to hold a School Improvement Professional Learning Week the week of July 29th. So this is a new offering that the first 2 days will be district-led at Lakewood Ranch High School, in-person professional learning sessions that will target to really supporting our ESE and English language learner subgroups. And so the first 2 days will be kind of owned by student services, so a focus on ESE and our ELL students on the first day. Second day will be curriculum and instruction focus, and then the rest of the week will be back at school sites with collaborative planning. So the goal is they get some professional learning, and then they get time at their school sites to apply that professional learning to then collaborative planning to get started with their planning for the school year. And then this is just kind of a snapshot of everything that's happening across the summer with that timeline. The red arrows are all of anything to do with our summer programs for students. And then the blue arrows you can see in July show where our professional learning is happening for the district and school staff. And this will also show you where the various programs end. And with that, we'll turn it over for any questions.
Thank you. Thank you. I got a couple questions, and probably for Dr. Weissong and maybe even Rachel, Ms. Seller, excuse me. Some of the required, mandated summer programs we do, are there specific funding for that separate than anything else? Or the state say you got to do it, and that's just it?
Yes, some of the requirements are tucked away in categorical pieces, or they're included, elsewhere in the budget. But again, the scope of each program depends on the number of students who need to be served, how many sites that are involved, et cetera. So it's really a kind of a local implementation plan.
But the state gives us funding for it?
There is funding.
Okay. The second question I had just flew away, so we'll go to Mr. Tatum.
Good morning, ladies. It's always informative when you come and talk to us about what you're doing. So I'm a fan of these summer programs, things that we can do to keep education going in the summer, just keep habit patterns going and keep the mind working so they don't lose the skills that they've developed during the year. Some of my questions are going to be oriented towards budget things like Mr. Cho was talking about, so please don't take that as I'm not in favor of these things. But as we go into budget season, I'm just trying to become more informed about the finances and how they work in the district. So my first question, and this might be for Mr. Rinaldi, but you might know, is for all these programs, transportation requirements, are we required to provide transportation to students in the summer like we do during the year outside of a 2-mile zone, or how does that work? Do you know?
Right. I wouldn't say it's a requirement, but we do, and we did budget for transportation through the funding sources we're using this summer. So through referendum and mostly through ESSER for this summer. So we do, when we have the funding, obviously provide transportation. For the statutory ones, we would need to provide transportation because we want to make sure we're able to get students to third grade summer reading camp and to ESY. I will say VPK, we do not provide transportation because parents are using that voucher, that certificate, so they have to take their children to the school.
Okay, so it sounds like the basic rule is if it's a statutorily required program, then we have to provide transportation to all students or just outside? What if they're inside that 2-mile zone? Is it kind of the same
We
rules?
follow the same rules as during the school year. They have to live outside of that 2-mile zone.
Okay. And then for the voluntary programs or the optional programs, we still try and provide transportation.
We did for the summer, we've budgeted for most of those. Now that might not be able to continue after ESSER is
Right.
no longer, so we'll have to revisit that for next summer.
Okay, great, thank you. And then the migrant camps, there's one, I think, for like 6 through 12, and then one out at Mayak Elementary. Are those English language, Spanish language, or dual language? I'm just curious. Do you know?
Probably mostly Spanish. So, it really targets that really, kind of subgroup of our ELL population, which is our migrant students. And I can't say for sure, and that's something we can follow up on, but I would say probably the majority are Spanish-speaking students and families.
But the instruction happens in, you believe in Spanish for the most part?
In English, the instruction
That's
is
what I
happening in
thought.
English. I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah, so it's done in English.
Yes.
Okay, great.
But with teachers who they do try and hire teachers who, are able to speak Spanish, so then there is that support there as well.
Yes, having been an English or a French language teacher myself, it is obviously hard to teach somebody if you can't speak their language, right? And they can't speak your language. So, but that's good. Okay, I was just curious about that. And then the optional programs, do we use any district funds in the sense of, I'm trying to ask this question appropriately, non-grant funds from the district to fund those programs, or do we have to pull some money out of the general fund to do that?
It's all of those optional ones are currently funded through referendum. So the arts, they're all being funded through referendum, and then ESSER for some of the others. So a combination between referendum and ESSER.
Okay, great. And then, unfortunately, when that ESSER money does go away, it may curtail our ability to offer some of these programs. Is that?
Correct. So we can only guarantee that we would be able to fund the ones that are the statutory requirements. Anything else, we would have to just be on the lookout for funding options moving forward, and we would not be able to guarantee that we'd be able to offer those.
Okay. So just so I clearly understand what you just said, this summer, because we have the ESSER money for people who are listening, that means money from the federal government that came to us during the COVID era, is available to provide the optional programs that you just briefed us on. But this is the last year that money is available. And so next summer, unless there are some other funding sources established, a lot of those voluntary programs will go away. Is that correct?
Yes. Could potentially, if we're not able to find another funding source for that.
Okay, great. That was informative. Like I said, I'm just trying to make myself smarter on school finance and how these things work. So I appreciate you taking the time to answer those questions, and that's all I have, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Spray?
Good morning, ladies. On slide 12, we do a lot of summer offerings for visual and performing arts. Is there a reason why we don't do any kind of programs for sports? Or, visual arts, is that dance programs or any of those things, or any kind of sport camp at all? I know where I'm from, we used to do sport camps so we could feed up to our, especially middle school, up to our high school programs. And some of those programs, I've been to some of our football games and other events, and they're kind of lacking there. So I don't know, has that ever been a program here at all, that we had any kind of sports camp?
I can't speak historically on if there's been sports camps. Somebody else could chime in. I do know our schools offer their own athletic programs, if you will, like practices and things over the summer. The Visual and Performing Arts Camps, this started last year, and again was written through an ESSER grant. And so, just like Allison just shared, pending other funding sources, this camp would not be able to continue. But again, this was a camp that started last year. It was a very popular camp. It's still very popular in the community. But I do understand where you're coming from with having two different visual and performing arts offerings.
Right.
And no athletics, but that would be something that we'd have to talk about if there was an
Okay.
appetite to.
I would challenge everybody to start looking into that because, while arts is important, in my opinion, sports is as well. I think that is beneficial to feed up into our high schools and keep those programs going. As well, it's very good for our students to be active and doing things. Arts is great. I'm not discounting arts, but I also am a big advocate for sports in all categories of sports. I mean, there could be baseball camps, those kind of things, tennis camps. I think we should probably look into something like that maybe in the future. So just wanted to bring that up. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I got one last question. Attendance. How many students? You're probably not going to know this off the top of your head, but how many students are we? Maybe not the statutory ones that we have to do, right? Like, a student's going to have to go to those if they're not proficient, etc. But out of the voluntary ones, that like the extra ones that we provide, where they come from ESSER or whatever, funding. What's the attendance look like? Like, how many kids are we servicing for those voluntary ones?
I think it just varies by the camp. I mean,
Okay.
I could send you, kind of additional numbers.
It'd be interesting to know how many we're servicing,
Yeah, overall.
because there is definitely, summer slides and things like that. There's no question about it. And so it'd be interesting how many we have. And my other question on that same kind of line is, how do we communicate with parents of those camps? So is it just the basic telephone calls? I mean, because as a parent, obviously I'm well more informed than other parents, right? Clearly. So when I see 714-7300 on Sunday night, I know it's a hurricane call, Manatee call, or if I see 708, I know what the calls are. But there are still parents that may not even know, don't even answer that, don't listen to voicemail, whatever. So what are the ways that we communicate that these are out there?
So most of the programs will send, do letters home that we translate into other languages as well, and really target the population of, or whoever they're looking for that particular camp. I know I can speak on the elementary end. A lot of times our elementary schools will also then maybe follow up with phone calls, or, if they haven't heard back from a family, they might, if they see them picking their child up, have a conversation, but multiple different ways. A lot of the schools, have some kind of like a class dojo system at the elementary level where they're able to directly send messages to families. So multiple different ways that we're able to communicate and invite families to attend, and try and get that attendance up. And I don't know if you want to anything additional.
I think everything is pretty applicable secondary wise. A lot of individual invitations to families that they feel like the students would benefit maybe more than some of the others, and then mail outs home in varying languages to try to reach the families and communicate with them.
Well, the students that have to go to those, that the state deems we have to hold these camps for those students who are not proficient. I mean, are they told like, hey, this is something you've got to go to? You know what I mean? Like the summer reading, like if they're not, is this something that they go home at the end of the year and they've got something that says you've got to go to this basically?
Right. So so for third grade summer reading camp, and it does kind of go right till the end of the school year, because we have to wait for the PM3 FAST data to come back. But once we've identified students who have obviously didn't score that level 2 or higher on FAST for ELA, and did not meet one of the good cause options to be promoted to 4th grade, a letter does go home from the schools in English and Spanish, inviting their child to attend 3rd grade summer reading camp with the location where the child would attend. And then the parent has to indicate the bottom and return the form back to the school if their child will participate. At the end of the day, we can't require the families to send their child. Schools will strongly encourage, do everything they can to get the kids, the child there. But at the end of the day, the parents can make that choice. I'll be honest, we've had parents in the past who they wanted their child, they felt okay with their child spending a second year and third, that they needed that extra time, and elected to not send them. We also have an option for families with third grade if they, for some reason, if they've already have vacation plans, they can't change them. The child might not come and attend for the actual instruction, but they can still come the last week of camp and take the STAR reading assessment for that one more chance to get promoted to fourth. So we do everything we can to try and work with the families of the third graders to give the children every option and chance we can to increase instruction and then to also get them to fourth grade.
Great, thank you very much. Were you let us?
She answered my question.
Oh, okay.
My question she answered.
All right, thank you. No other comments? Thank you very much, y'all.
Thank you.
Moves us to the item number 10, which is consent items. Superintendent Weissong.
Thank you, Chairman. I recommend approval of the consent agenda for the school board meeting on March 19th, 2024.
So moved.
And we're good on Granicus, by the way.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. So I think, yep, there it is. Let's go ahead and cast our votes on the approval of the consent items on today's agenda.
I do not have the ability to vote, but I say aye. I am in favor.
Mr.
Yes.
Tatum is an aye.
Yes.
So that passes 5-0. You may have to just refresh it.
Log
at the
out,
bottom,
log in
yeah.
or something. Okay. Great.
Yeah, if you just sometimes go back to the agenda and then click back into it.
Okay.
Sometimes it puts you to sleep. All right, item number 13, new business. Item number 1 under new business non-consent, the approval of the budget amendments for January 2024. Superintendent Weissong.
Thank you, Chairman. I recommend approval of the budget amendments for January 2024.
So moved.
We have a motion? Any second?
I will second.
We have a second. And Ms. Sellers, I'm assuming, come on up.
Good morning, Chair Choate and board members.
Morning.
So this month of the month of January saw the budget amendments. There were 575 budget amendments. 18 of those chart strings were over $1 million. This was related to 2 funds. In the general fund, there were 5. And that was due to largely the third calc of the FPFP came in. We recognized revenue in the discretionary program of 6.2 million. There was also the Guy Harvey grant for $1 million. In expenditures, the third calc FPFP for CAPE, we did move from reserve to the Adult and Career Technical Education Cost Center, where that was $1 million. And the third calc FPFP increased to the Lakewood Ranch Prep Charter School of $2.3 million. Then in the capital fund, we saw 13 chart screens and 4 revenue sources within there. The first, the local capital improvement, there were 2 chart strings there. One was moving some budgets to the charters for their LCI allocation. That was $2.1 million, and also for the Manatee elementary roofing budget to the construction for additional project increases of $2 million. In the COPS, we saw movement that netted to about $2.8 million. This was in regards to changes in the construction project costs for increase in ONECO, a decrease with hail, increase in Blackburn costs, a movement of that Hale Middle project from the COPS. That one was $6.9 million. That was related to that lease amendment that we had at the previous month, and also reduction in the Terra Elementary project of $2 million. And the other fund was related to the sales tax proceeds.
This was 5 chart strings. It netted about 1 million, and this was to move budget from activity per funding request for the PHS concessions and the bathroom project. And also in the impact fees was also related to 1 chart string that was the reciprocal side of the 6.9 million for the Hale project. Any questions? Well, thank you very much.
I don't see any one lit up for questions. I know we got it in our briefing, so appreciate that. Nobody's up to speak, so thank you. Let's go ahead and vote on the budget amendments for January 2024. You good? Yeah. And that passes 5-0. Item number 2, Dr. Weissong.
Thank you, Chairman. I recommend approval to advertise a notice of intent to amend school board policies to include new policies and setting a public hearing at the board meeting on April 23rd, 2024. And for the record, the following policies would fall under this item. Bylaw 0141.2, Bylaw 0166, and then policies 2270, 2271, 2460, 2623, 5111.01, 5780, 8330, 8390, and 8420. And board members, for information, each of those policies will be workshopped with you this Thursday, March 21st.
Thank you. I was going to add that we'll workshop that Thursday.
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
A second by Ms. Foreman. I don't see anybody lit up to speak. We'll discuss these come Thursday. And so let's go ahead and cast our votes on the approval of advertising the notice of intent to amend school board policies. It passes 5-0. Item number 3, Dr. Weissong.
Thank you. I recommend approval of the proposed revisions of job descriptions for non-degreed teachers of career programs.
So,
We have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. And Dr. Weissong, do you just want to elaborate a little more on what that means?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Board members, the state of Florida, in both statute and State Board of Education rule, allows school districts to issue certificates to non-degreed teachers in certain programs within career and technical education. This is a long-established process, and this is how we get real industry professionals into our construction trades programs and our healthcare programs and some others where you want people with industry experience working with our students. The requirements for the district to issue those certificates have changed, and therefore we need to update all of the job descriptions that are associated with those positions. So these revisions simply reflect the updated state requirement. There is no fiscal impact. We're not hiring more teachers. We're not changing the staffing plan. It's just an update to the job descriptions.
Thank you. I don't see any board members.
I can't hit to speak because we're already on.
Go ahead.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
I just want to understand that these that some of these job descriptions have been changed because of some of the statutes, correct? Okay. I just wanted to make that clear. That's all.
All right, let's go ahead and vote on the revisions to the job descriptions. And that passes 5-0. Item number 4, Superintendent Weissong.
Thank you, Chairman.
Oh, hold on 1 second.
I just want to hand out a copy of the resolution. The one that says draft on it was actually a prior version of it.
Okay, thanks.
Is this different than the one we had?
Thanks. Dr. Weissong.
All right. Thank you, Chairman. I recommend approval of School Board of Manatee County Resolution 2024-002.
So
So moved.
We have a motion
I will second.
and a second, and then let me get back to my Granicus. So, board, I got a couple things just real quickly that we never really discussed, because as I look on it on here, I don't really see it, and it's something that I believe is important, and Sarasota looked at theirs and changed theirs a little bit. And so what I'm talking about, what I'm referring to is on the ballot itself, there's a title to this referendum that the voters will read, and then they'll move down to the ballot language, which is on page 3. So that language that is on the title, we haven't really discussed. Currently, Mr. Dye, do you know what the current, how it reads currently, like how it has read in the past?
I think,
Or
Chair,
could you point it to us if it's on here?
yeah, there's a proposed ballot language on the last page.
He's talking about the existing caption.
But the title, and so the title of it is on that too? I don't see the, like,
On page 3 up at the top,
the School Board of Manatee County ad valorem millage election.
that is the title.
That is the title. So then
And that's similar to how it was last time.
okay, gotcha. So then, for thoughts and see what you all would like to see, I'd like to see it say something along of what we're trying to achieve with the referendum. So, which is student achievement. So we obviously have to have, I think legally we have to add ad valorem millage election inside of it, or referendum inside of the title. But my thoughts are, when you read that, School Board of Manatee County ad valorem millage election doesn't give you anything of what we're really doing. Does that make sense? So just something that I came up with and asked Mr. Dye if this was acceptable, and we'll see what you all think, and if you want to change it, we can. But that it says, continue funding for student achievement through renewal of ad valorem millage referendum. So instead of just saying School Board of Manatee County ad valorem millage election, that it actually says continues funding for student achievement through renewal of ad valorem millage referendum. We have to have that piece in there, correct, Mr. Dye? The ad valorem millage referendum we have to have in there
It actually
to
says,
show, or do we not have to have that in there?
it already
No, I think you can have the alternative language that you're proposing.
Okay. That says to continue funding for student achievement through renewal.
Yeah.
Okay. So does that make sense, board, what I'm asking?
It actually says that in the very first line, continue the current.
Right, but that'll be in the ballot. So there's two different things. So you read the title and then you read the ballot language. So the title is, there may be people that just read the title and never even read what the ballot language says, and vice versa, right? Sarasota's reads, continues funding for teachers, workforce training, student achievement through renewal of ad valorem millage referendum. In discussion with Mr. Dye, I think that student achievement is our clear focus. Everything that we're passing and putting in here is for student achievement. And so I just think it encompasses all of it. But to me, reading continues funding for student achievement through renewal of the ad valorem millage referendum is different than just School Board of Manatee County ad valorem millage. It gives you an idea of what you're going to be looking at as you move on to the ballot language itself. So just a food for thought. Doesn't really change anything about the actual item, but that would be a recommendation to, I guess you'd have to amend the original. So that would be a recommendation.
So I don't want
Thoughts?
to jump in.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you're saying after the language, School Board of Manatee County, you want to insert
No, the School Board of Manatee County ad valorem would be gone. That
the ad
whole
valorem, that whole line would be
the
gone.
two lines above shall the School Board of Manatee County, all of that, so above that is gone. Those two,
Okay.
the bold, and it will say continues funding for student achievement through renewal of ad valorem millage referendum. And then it would move on to, shall the school board of Manatee County continue the current 1 mil ad valorem millage from July 1st, blah, 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 blah.
So I guess I'm asking, what exact language are you saying it's gonna say?
Continues funding for student achievement through renewal of ad valorem millage referendum. So that part's the same as, well, it says election instead of referendum. That way we're, obviously the voters will know it is an ad valorem millage. We're renewing it. This is not a new one. We've had it. But that they'll know from the very title that what we're actually doing, which is funding student achievement.
So it's gonna say continued funding for school achievement through ad valorem millage,
Renewal
renewal,
of ad valorem millage referendum.
renewal.
Instead of school board of Manatee County ad valorem millage election.
All right.
Doesn't really change a whole lot of what's going on, but to me it's more pleasant.
Good marketing.
Continues for student achievement. I mean, just, you know, because if we're, as we're voting, you're reading through this, you're going to read the title and immediately say yes or no, and potentially. And so I want to make sure we're every chance we get, we're relaying what we're doing.
Okay. So it's gonna.
So that's the first, that's one.
All right.
The other question, as I was kind of just reading over this the last couple weeks, talking to some people, and this is for board for our thought here. We can actually ask Dr. Weissong his opinion on this language too. We know early learning and early literacy is something we're focusing on, and I'm not debating that at all. My question is, the language, when we say early literacy programs, sometimes we get caught up with like educational terms, right? And like acronyms and all these things that nobody else out there is like, what does that mean? So my question is, are we comfortable with early literacy programs, or do we need to specify what early means, like pre-K, right? Does that make sense? So you may go to someone's early learning, they don't know what early learning means. But if you say pre-K, I think the average normal people know what pre-K is. Now, it doesn't change what we're doing, right? We're still going after the early literacy programs. It just is a verbiage thing for me. Is just thoughts.
I think that would restrict us to the pre-K, and it would indicate that we're abandoning K through 3. So
Okay.
I
Good question. So let me ask you that. So I want to make sure we all understand when I say we as a board, and we're telling everybody this. I agree with that. Pre-K absolutely does say pre-K like that. So my question is, then are we saying, which I am, so I'm asking you all, early literacy programs is pre-K through 3? To me is what defines early literacy. And are we okay with that? I mean, I want to make sure we verify. What I don't want is a couple years from now, we're saying, why was a pre-K teacher, or pre-K materials brought in, etc.
I don't even think early literacy is limited to pre-K in this. I think it could be even younger than that.
Very true. Could be
So
at birth,
I don't
right?
I don't think limiting saying pre-K.
Perfect.
Like I hear your argument because I do agree, but I know lots of people that if I said pre-K, they don't know what that is either. Because if you're from another state, how they run their programs is different than in Florida. That's been my experience at least. So I think early literacy is more appropriate, and it encompasses, to me, a wider range.
Perfect. I agree with you. I just want to make sure that nobody out there ever says, well, why did you do something in pre-K? Is that, you know what I mean? Just because of the finagle.
Guess what?
But I know it's going to happen.
You're going to get that.
No, I get
no matter
you.
What
I get
word
you.
you put here?
I get you. Any
could
other
we
thoughts?
add a whereas, whereas, and in the whereas define.
Oh, there you go.
I think there is a whereas where it talks about early literacy, but I don't know if it defines it. it's like but yes, we could absolutely do that if you wanted to. I mean, I don't know if we need to go that far. If we know that we know what early literacy is, I mean, to me it's pre-K birth to 3 years old. I mean, or not 3 years old, excuse me, third grade. So if we as a board, if we don't feel like we needed to mess with it, I don't either. I just wanted to see what your thoughts were, because I don't want anything questioned because no one understands what early literacy is. But I'm sure we're not going to be able to get every single answer.
Okay. If I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
Number 2, whereas, it could be included there because it does say, provided to students attending its public schools, including public charter schools. We could, I don't know if it would be, I'm talking to Mr. Dine now, could we insert that to say, to include the, and we know pre-K could encompass.
Oh, here we go.
It's the second page on the top.
Second page, top one.
Right.
It says early literacy programs. We could
Okay.
put in their parentheses,
Okay, and that one.
whatever we wanted.
Right.
We really feel, if we feel like we need to. If y'all don't, I'm happy with the language. I understand what early literacy programs are. I understand that it can be from third grade down. I just want to make sure that we're covering bases. So I think we're fine. I just wanted to bring it up to see what you all thought. And to have this out in discussion. So people come and ask us what early literacy is, we know it's birth to third grade.
Did you get some feedback from citizens that said, I don't understand what that is, or I'm not happy with the language, or are you just thinking through it?
I'm just kind of thinking through it as I was reading, as I was looking at stuff. Like we changed workforce to career and technical, which I think that's more of that's kind of an educational term, but I think that people, it was just me kind of reading it. I just don't want to make sure that I know what it means. We know what it means. As Dr. Halpin was sitting and presenting, and I'm just making something up here off the top of my head, but if we say, oh, let's get a busload of kids and take them to this, and we're going to pay, like, I don't want someone to say, wait a minute, that's early literacy. Why are you what are you doing in pre-K? Because they don't understand that early is pre-K. That's all I was kind of attacking. But I think that if we as a board are together saying early literacy means third grade and under, then we're good. I mean, I think it's justified. Are you good with that, Dr. Weiss? I mean, am I off base here? I mean, are you okay?
I am, Chairman. We did have some internal staff discussion about how people would interpret that language. I'm comfortable with where we're at, but I think it's great that you've had the discussion in the open and that it's clear that you're talking about through third grade, because that's also where, as a board, you've talked about your strategic plan priorities being.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so as we kind of build out what that looks like, to be able to use this funding source is important.
So are we landing on not adding the term pre-K?
Yeah, I would just say, yeah, it seems like nobody needs it, which is
I'm
fine.
good with I'm good with the language the way it is.
Okay. Any other? I'm sorry, I'm not on Granicus.
Yeah.
Ms. Foreman.
Yep, thank you. A couple things. One, speaking of, defining a term, when we talk about, what was it? Teachers and recruiting and retaining teachers and staff.
In the ballot language?
Yeah, in the ballot language, because that's what people are going to be honing in on. And could there be a perception that staff would include, say, for example, Mr. Jensen, that he would get a bonus out of this? No, you won't. But do we need something to clarify that this staff we were talking about is staff that has direct, and then you start going, okay, well, what about the bus drivers? Yeah, okay, they're direct, but what about the mechanics? They fix the buses that the bus drivers.
Yeah.
So it gets real muddy.
Has it always been teachers and staff? in the last ones? I don't remember. I don't remember the last draft.
I don't remember either.
Yeah.
The intention was always, it's whoever has direct contact with students. That has always been the goal, even since its inception in 2017, is this money should go to those who are directly interacting with students. However, one unintended consequence was when we added this extra 30 minutes, there were employees that did have to then work a longer day, but did not necessarily have direct contact with students. So that did get paid for out of the general fund because it did not come from the millage, but to make the time work, they were given, but that came from the general fund, not from this. And the other consideration is that hourly non-bargaining, they already worked that long of a day. So even though there were lots of groups of employees that did get a bump in pay because they worked more, that group did not get a bump in pay because they were already working that length. So there were a few other like unintended consequences that happened with how it's been done. But it's always been the intention that it's those that are in direct contact with students.
Do we need to clarify that language in any way?
I don't know if it's ever been that exact because it was that exact because it was set in percentages, right? There was that separate document that did set it in percentages, but even within those percentages, there were groups that, once again, may not have been part of it. So it is going to be different definitionally because we don't have that, and instead,
I think it's almost the same along lines as early literacy programs, like that language. Like, as long as we know from here at the board that we're saying that includes every single person that affects a kid's how they learn on a daily basis. It's just it may be hard to fit all that in there.
Well, it could be something like retaining teachers and student supporting staff.
can I just point out one other thing? If we were to, and you had not made your motion to amend, but if we were to accept your title, I think the implication then would be that all the staff would be tied to student achievement.
True. Very true.
Because that's the title. So then, to me, that
we don't need to change the wording then.
I feel like it would already be there because you're saying, no, the focus is student achievement. So if you are not tied to that, and that can be a bus driver, right? Getting to the school on time, that's tied to student achievement. Fixing the bus so that it gets to school on time, that I mean, like, to me, like, I could draw a lot of lines, but my point is, I think if we were to accept your amendment that you haven't yet made the motion to, but you should, then I think it might cure that. I don't know, not an attorney, but.
I'm waiting to see if there's other motions we want to make at the same time.
I have another one.
Does that make sense? Yes. Does that answer that question? I'm okay with keeping it the way it is on that language. I think we're okay.
Okay.
Anybody?
I just wanted to bring it up. Now, the other one is something where I would like a change, and I feel very strongly about this, and that's the athletics. Okay. It's going to be, everything in here is achievement, is during the school day. Athletics is extracurricular, and it has additional funding sources. For example, when Mr. Little came in and talked about the sign, that got paid for in other means. And if we go out to the public and say we want money for athletics, and at the same time Manatee Foundation or Manatee High School Boosters is running a $10 million fundraising campaign, it's a terrible look. And secondly, I think it's going to be a distraction, and it's already starting to prove that. When the Observer published an article about our discussion and talked about the athletics, and this morning I saw on social media somebody posted it and said, should millage money go for athletics? And so that starts the discussion. So you're going to have people, we don't want them talking about, should we be putting money in athletics? You know, it's the age-old battle for dollars. And I think that that's going to take away from the benefit, the huge benefits that we're talking about with the millage, and as far as achievement goes. And as far as achievement goes, attended a arts discussion down at USF with the community, and somebody pointed out that 90% of arts students graduate from high school. So I don't know that you can say that with athletics. But the biggest, and to me the most significant thing, is athletics is not in our strategic plan. How dare we put money towards something that's not in our strategic plan? I have a strategic plan, copy of it here, and you're welcome to look through it and locate it, but I could not find anything, nothing, talking about athletics. And so I truly cannot support this ballot language if it has athletics in it.
Was that it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I Miss Spray lit up to speak.
Right. A few things. I remember sitting on that side of the dais talking about arts, how important it was for arts, and how we needed to add arts into the language because it helped develop our students to be, there was programs out there that would help them learn to read and help them achieve all these other measurables. So arts, arts was added to the language. In my opinion, I think, you know, it was probably one of the, I probably am where you are right now with sports as I was back then about the arts. So I'm totally for having athletics in their and this is why. Athletics and programs that we have is very beneficial to behavioral health, physical health. It builds character and team building. And I believe that, I mean, when you say athletics, it encompasses so much more than a scoreboard, in my opinion. Coming from athletics myself in high school, just a camaraderie with that competitive team building spirit with teams has been, in my opinion, very beneficial. I don't see why anyone wouldn't want to support our athletics programs through the district. I mean, we already support athletic programs through our district. So some, for instance, band uniforms are paid through our capital fund. Through athletics, we are tapping parents in every form so kids can compete in the different sports that we offer in the district. Okay, and then I'm going to go to the reporting, well, first let me go to retention. That was the whole basis of this millage and the onset of it back in 17 was retention.
Can we finish this discussion before, is this part of athletics?
Well,
Just your comments.
it's just, should I go on to the, wait till everybody's done with athletics then? Is that what you'd like me to do?
Up to the chair.
I'm just doing public comments, or not public comment, just your board comments
Board
that
comment.
when you're spoken here. I mean, I didn't know.
Okay.
You
Oh,
wanted
it's
to-
all right, I
You
can,
want to go board to board? and
I
hear
can
what-
go board to board on athletics, that's fine.
I could put forth an amendment, and then we have to discuss that item.
Okay, that's-
But I don't want to
that's fine.
bog it down.
I'll hold off all of my other comments, but to me, athletics is instrumental in student achievement. That feeds up in, like I said earlier, having programs in the summer, camps for athletics to feed up in, from our middle schools up to our high schools. I think athletics is key to student achievement, so.
But when
sorry.
you take dollars from something else, because if you put money in athletics, it's got to come from somewhere else.
So
And we have
how much should we
31
spend on arts?
school counselors talking about mental health and their needs and how desperate it is. And we go, oh, but we've got to put money into baseball over at Parish High School. It's hard to sell that. You know, we have a strategic plan. We set our priorities. And athletics isn't one of them. I'm sorry.
Nothing to be sorry about. I completely disagree with you though. So it's,
Right.
you are marginalizing thousands of our students who participate in athletics by saying that it's not worth it to fund it. So, and I completely disagree with you. There's plenty of articles. I wasn't gonna send any, and I guess maybe I should have now, but I thought it was already on, so I didn't send them. There's thousands of articles and studies done on how athletics benefits graduation rates, the students' achievements, etc. There's no question. I mean, it's not even debatable. You could have a group of students that if it wasn't for arts, athletics, etc., whatever their interest, STEM, they may not even go to school. So it's not, I mean, for us to pick and choose which ones we want to help fund and which ones we don't, I think we're marginalizing thousands of students who are in our district that are achieving good things that may not if they don't have that outlet there. So I disagree with you.
Mr. Chair, I'd also like to add that for students to participate in sports, they have to maintain a 2.0 average in their academics. So that is a driving force to be, right. And arts programs, I don't know, is there a cap on what their grades are or anything? But we support that totally.
Because it's during the class, it's during the school day.
Right.
It's an elective. It's part of the academic program. It's not extracurricular.
So your team sports, weightlifting, etc., inside the school or not?
Are they during the school day?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, well then that's.
I mean, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Miss Messenger was lit up. You weren't lit up. We were just.
Not yet,
I
but
didn't see your hand. Miss Messenger, I guess we're just talking about the athletic portion.
Just talking about the athletics, not.
Yeah, no other comments from anything else.
Not
that you have.
yours that has not been motioned yet, but should be.
Do you want me to go ahead
I'm
and do
just
that
saying,
first?
it will become messy if you think you're gonna roll it all into one.
Okay.
Do one amendment, vote. Do a second amendment, vote. And then take a break, have a document with all the amendments, and then do a final vote. That way it's clean, and every amendment is one piece instead of trying to roll it all into one, which this one might be moot anyways. But I think it would be clearer for the board if it was every motion, any amendment, which I didn't anticipate any. But it would be cleaner, I personally believe. You're the chair, it's your meeting.
No, that's
But
fine.
my personal opinion would
I didn't
be
know there was gonna be either ear.
that there is an amendment, vote, any other amendment, vote, clean copy, final vote. That way we all know what we're voting on because this is big.
I don't disagree with you.
Okay.
I'll let you go and then
I just want to say a couple things about athletics. So there was a comment made about capital expenses for uniforms, and you're right, that is in there. But so is the millions of dollars spent on turf and the millions of dollars that we spent on track. So we've spent more capital on sports than art programs. I just want to say that because I don't want that to get missed by anyone that's hearing that. They need to understand that there is significantly more capital being spent on athletic programs than art programs. And that was actually one of the reasons why arts got added, was because of that disparity. I think Mrs. Foreman brings up an interesting point about it not being part of the strategic plan. However, I feel as if the majority of this board has already said they want it there. And if that's still true, then I don't see the point in making this amendment. I just think it's going to be a mess. I'm with you that my biggest question was, does it make an academic difference? And that's what I asked, because we know arts does. There's a lot of data to show that. It's not about having a required GPA. That GPA is all you need in order to graduate. It's about what GPA are they graduating with, and we know with our students they are graduating with a higher GPA. That might be true for athletics. I don't know that. I would have liked if you had stuff to send it, because I actually would have read that. But I agree with you. I thought this was settled. The board had already said how they felt, and that's why it's there. So it kind of, if there's still 3 board members that are in favor of that word being there, I don't know why you'd hold a vote to amend it, because it's not going to win. And while I share your concerns about it, because I am really worried that we're going to take away from the other programs, which is what I said when we discussed this previously, I also believe so strongly in all the other pieces of this that I can get behind it. Because there are a lot of really big and important things that are happening here and have happened here because of this. So I hope that, pending the outcome of whatever Mr. Tatum says over there, because he's the swing vote today on this one, and I think he's already spoken, so I don't know how much swaying how much persuading you're gonna achieve, but there's enough good to support it. Even if this one piece you can't get behind. And I'm going to give that same argument to Mrs. Spray, because we know she doesn't support the arts, but there's enough good here to support it for her as well.
She took a class on persuasion last week. I'm just saying, you know.
You have a comment?
Oh, my goodness.
So, Dr. Weissong, could you give us some examples of what millage money might be used for in the realm of athletics? What would be some examples of how we might use that money?
Well, I think there are several possibilities. Just depends on the structure that we work up. You could do and again, you could do a flat amount to each high school to support their athletics programming. You could differentiate based on a variety of pieces. I think in terms of actual expenditures, we have some teams that participate beyond just your kind of regular local schedule, that and that's often fundraised, parent-driven type of work that could certainly be used here. I think we've seen our high schools have seen a lot of success this year in the FHSAA, getting their regional tournaments. Those are often long distance travel, sometimes you have to do charter buses, right? All of those things cost money. So I think there are many potential uses. It just depends on how we structure the budget.
Coach salaries, would that be included in something like this or not?
So anything is possible, keeping in mind that anything that's a supplement or a salary is subject to collective bargaining, right? So just as we talk about that each year with our general fund, that's subject to that whole annual process.
I do know, it appears at least, that arts are actually extracurricular activities too. Sometimes, for instance, band happens after school, and so when we talk about the arts, it's not just in-school activities. There are extracurricular activities for arts after school. And then, you've heard me say this before, but one of my favorite quotes in this area that I like to pull out and use it when necessary is, there's a sign when you walk on to the West Point, the military academy fields, athletic fields, and that sign is a quote from General MacArthur, and it says, "On the fields of friendly strife are sown the seeds which on other fields and other days will bear the fruits of victory." And there's a lot to be said for going out on athletic fields and developing character, and it certainly develops mental health. I mean, at least in my leadership work, one of the biggest reasons that people end up going to mental health is because they're bored, right? I mean, one of the books that comes to mind is Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. And if you read through there, he was a German psychoanalyst, great book to read. He went through the Holocaust. But he says in there that a lot of the people that came into his office were just bored. We're just bored because the brain wants something to do. We're made, however you believe we were made, but the human body is made to move forward as a human being with physical activities and mental activities to make us better human beings. And so some people like to paint, take pictures, and do beautiful art like that emblem right there. I could never possibly conceive of having the talent to make that emblem right there, whoever carved it or whatever it was done. But for some people, it's sports. For some people, it's getting out on that tennis court. For some people, it's jumping over a big bar, and that's really that gives them meaning in life. So all of that to say that I'm in support of athletics, and I think we can make a good case for it. We just need to be judicious about how we would then spend that money so that it doesn't look like we're being frivolous with it, and that we don't, we can direct the superintendent, like, we don't want an excessive amount of money. We don't want 20% of the millage going to pay for sports trips, out of state or something like that. And that's part of our job up here, as well as the CFOC or whoever's going to be looking over this to make that point. So I understand your concern, Ms. Foreman, but I think, again, it's the pros and the cons, and I think that the arts give meaning to some people, but so do sports, and so I'm in favor of leaving athletics. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, could I add something?
Hold on, can I just jump in? Well, are you gonna do something about the sports?
Yeah.
Topic still? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I recently had a conversation with somebody that students stay behind to participate in athletics because they just don't want to go home because of their home life situation. So to me, this is an avenue for them to have the opportunity to, going home sometimes is a struggle for kids. If we have something for them to do that's going to improve them in their mental health because of their home life, then that is just another, and I'm just sharing that for Ms. Foreman to understand. That is an actual conversation I had with someone. Okay, I'm sorry.
I want to remind everybody that the purpose of the millage is not to find a way to pay for things that we're already doing. It's to improve, it's to make things better, to new programs, expansion. And what we're talking about here with money, send money to the schools and let them spend it, I don't think we're accomplishing that. And if the referendum does not pass, sports aren't going to get cut, but arts will. Period. So, oh no, I'll follow that up. Mr. Chair, I make a motion that the ballot language delete the word athletics from it.
We have a second? No second? That amendment dies of no second, so I will now make my amendment. Ms. Cox, you had that up there? I want to just make sure everybody reads it and sees it. I have a motion to approve a title proposal for the ballot that reads, continue funding for student achievement through renewal of ad valorem millage referendum as the title that will go onto the ballot.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Sorry, let me get out of this window. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Valorum is misspelled. I just want to point that out.
It's V.
We can do some of those edits.
Yeah.
And through. Through is abbreviated.
Yeah, I think Laura's fixing it. I do have, so we have motion and a second. Mr. Tatum, you were lit up to speak?
This is more of a grammar type of issue.
Yeah, fix it, whatever.
Well, just the sense of, this is like a noun. What is it? It is a school board of Manatee County ad valorem millage election. That says continue funding. It's like a verb, continue funding. Is it continued funding for students? Is that what we want? It's almost like, because that's a verb statement, like continue funding for student achievement through renewal of ad valorem millage referendum.
Continue, so like Sarasota says continues funding. I don't know if that helps.
No, what about the word for, if you strike that?
Continues funding.
Student achievement.
Oh.
Okay.
Gone.
Yeah.
So she's fixing
Yeah, I think she's just editing it.
I mean, aren't ballots, the subjects of ballot measures like President of the United States, Senator, they're nouns, they're not commands to go do something. That's what we're saying in the verbiage, shall we continue to do this? It's just a grammar
So
thing.
continued funding.
With a D.
Correct. And then the rest of it. And then put it up there and see what it looks like, please. I think if you have continued, you have to have for. But I was a math teacher, not an English teacher.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. I think that's grammatically correct.
Okay. There was a second. I'm okay with the cleaning it up. You're good with that? Okay, so we have a motion. We have a motion and a second on the proposed title ballot language. Let's go ahead and, is that ready to vote? Go ahead and vote on that if you would like to approve that. And that passes 5-0. Okay, so one amendment down. I agree with you. I agree with you. I just didn't know. No, I'm just saying, you were saying if there are, you got to keep moving. So I just want to make sure we get that one done.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had no one lit up to speak right this current minute.
All right.
So is there anybody else who would like to speak about this? Yes, Ms. Spray.
Not about the language of that we just amended, but about, I want to go back to the purpose of this whole referendum was for retention and achievement. Those were the two key drivers in adding it. So going back to how arts and all of the other things, I don't think we're going to, arts was added because they were lacking in some of the things that they needed for that particular area of education. So that's why arts was added last time. Prior to that was STEM. So we added and we updated a lot of the stuff. Just go to schools and you see all the medical tables, the computers that's been bought, and in the arts, all of the different things that we upgraded there. But the whole intent of this retention was, or this millage was for retention. So, you know, so I asked HR for some data through bus driver, teacher, paraprofessionals, and all of that. And we still have that. The way it was being measured in the past was if a teacher left and we filled the seat, we retained a teacher's seat. The CFOC has, you know, in its inception, started looking at, okay, retention, and they were given what they were told to be given. So there was never a standard set by tracking turnover rate. That came about when a former chair was there and we started discussing turnover rate. So I would like to see that that is part of the CFOC's oversight. And when I look at their charter, so I pulled up the charter, the last date, August 8th, 2023, that's on our website. Anyone can go in and look at that. The composition of the committee, and then it goes into the administrative side. And on the administrative side, it actually says in line 3, beginning, okay, line 2, the committee will report to the school board at least quarterly. Okay. The CFOC was not given any quarterly reports until this past year. They started getting that and started asking for that data. I don't know why previous chairs didn't ask for that. It was in the charter. I looked back to see if it was in the charter previously to this, and it was. So no quarterly reports have been given because quarterly data was not provided. So I would say that that needs to be part of this because it's in the charter. I believe that the district should be providing the CFOC committee on a consistent basis. I don't know if it needs to be a cumulative report or if it needs to be just quarterly, by quarter. And then at the annual report is where they would get the annual data. But they would, in the other line in that, the committee will review the committee charter and submit any recommended changes to the school board. Its review and approval of no less annually. So the review is not just what it has been in the past. And I see that this committee has been the current sitting committee has been very engaging on, we need to start following the charter, look at the data quarterly, and report to the board. And that would be up to the committee and the chair of that committee to consolidate a report and maybe report to us what they see, because that charter says oversee. It doesn't say just fill in a box what has been done in the past, and that goes from its early days of constructing what they would be reporting to the board. And it was, okay, we need to report this, let's get the number annually and fill in that box, and then go so on, so on. Everyone can look at the charter reports, but it's all related.
Can I interrupt you 1 second?
Yeah.
So the charter and the things of the charter for the CFOC, I believe, is a completely different discussion than right now, but I do agree that with your point of we've got to have some kind of committee, right? And we say an independent citizen committee. What I would suggest is anything that has to do with this, the talk of what that committee looks like is a workshop item that we tackle. And to be honest with you, it doesn't need to be done until a year from now because we still have a year of the old referendum.
Right.
So unless this board feels we want to make new changes right now to whatever's going on. But as far as the charter and how we're operating with whatever citizen committee is there, CFOC, name it, whatever you want, that I think is a different discussion than today. And if it says, and I do agree with you, if it says in the charter to get reports XYZ dates, times, as a district, we should be doing that. And as a liaison, the board liaison, you should be telling us as a board, hey, you're not getting this. We're not getting this. And then we need to direct our one employee to say, get these reports for this committee, right? So although I'm agreeing with what you're saying, I don't know if right now is the time to discuss it.
Well, I do know that during the workshop, there was discussion about how the CFOC should be blended to the audit. So that's why I'm bringing this up now, because it does say in the language that it would be, or in the whole resolution, that there will be a committee to oversee, and I can't stress that word enough, to oversee. Citizen, to ensure proper use of funds.
And
So
in the
that's
ballot language, it says with oversight by
with
an
oversight,
committee.
with an
Absolutely.
independent citizens committee to ensure proper use of funds. So that's why I'm bringing up the charter and that committee. So, maybe it will be, I'm guessing, have to go through another cycle of the charter.
I think we need to discuss it, absolutely, because
Right.
there is discussion, obviously, there's been discussion up here about
Right.
CFOC, the audit committee, whatever, and we need to finalize that, but
And then
we at least we know we have to have an oversight citizen committee to oversee, because it says it in the ballot language, we have to have that.
Right, and it was in the ballot language prior to today's.
Right.
Right. And it didn't happen a whole
But,
lot, so.
and that goes back to, and I don't know who it was, I have no clue, but the function of the liaison is to come and bring us back, hey, this is not working. And that, at least, I know, at least maybe from when I was on the board, that it hasn't, and like you say, this year it's been working. Absolutely, tell us when it's not working.
Okay, and then, the discussion, back to athletics, I guess, to Mr. Tatum's point of how that would be budgeted or divvied out. I think just chunking out something to one school or another, everybody gets what, I think it would be responsible for us to look at the participation of what students are in, because some kids are not athletic. They're not going to participate in any kind of sport. They're going to participate in the art side. So to me, that's the way we should be looking at that, not just saying, here's the money, go spend it. If it's not done by the end of the year, spend it because you lose it. If you use it or lose it. I don't like that mentality. I know that happened in some areas, so I have a hard time with the whole meal. I have to say this, if that's okay with you right now.
Yeah, that's part of the current language, absolutely.
Right. I know that the growth that we are experiencing right now is gonna generate a lot of revenue through this. And I'm hoping, well, I'm probably the only person thinking that we should reduce it to 0.75. So to Ms. Messenger's point, if you don't have the votes, don't even try it. But I at least have to say it. But I do believe that when this goes through, and I'm pretty sure it will, we need to really focus on bus drivers, bus maintenance, and our custodial and cafeteria people. All of those people are in direct relationship with all of our students. And so it's not just about the teacher retention and all of those others. It's even those kind of people as well that I support. And I've talked to many cafeteria people. I've talked to secretaries and bookkeepers and other staff, and even people that are not indirect. There's, to Ms. Messenger's point there, we all are actually have an impact on all of our students. Everyone in this building has impact on all of our students. So I'll get off my soapbox on that, but I did want to at least bring that up, that I think the CFOC is instrumental, and with it being mentioned here, Citizens Committee, I don't know if we should have named it the Citizens Financial Oversight, but I guess we only have so many words. But, okay, independent. All right. So.
I see, well, I'm sorry. I didn't interrupt
I'll
you
take
there.
my name off.
Tatum?
Sorry.
I think I forgot to pull mine.
Oh, okay. Any other board members? I see no one else lit up to speak.
Yeah. I don't know how you feel today, so there have been times in my last 8 years sitting here that I felt like I was standing at the edge of the ocean. Like, you know, right where the waves hit the sand, right? And I would feel as if there was this large wave arising. And there were times where I felt like, gosh, that was sure to overtake me. But I would feel shielded from that wave. Because I knew I wasn't there alone, that I was with my team. And that's this board. This is one of those moments. This is when the weight of that wave can be withstood with the support of our full board. We are a team. And we know what we're about to face with this millage renewal, that we must be together for the success of this millage. We know what's at stake. It's academics, it's employees. We know what's at stake. And we know that the success of it hinges on this board being together in its support. And that support shows that we stand together for our community, that we stand together for our employees, and that we stand together for our students. So I'm truly hoping that we can be unanimous in our support for what's in front of us, because what is at stake is of such a magnitude that it will affect this entire county. And for us to send the message that yes, this is imperative, it requires this entire board to speak as one. That's all I got.
Thank you. Well said.
Spent too much time at that class.
Mr. Tatum.
You can hear.
I do have something to say. I'm just using my brain before I open my mouth. It's been a lesson I've had to learn many times over my life. I like what Ms. Messenger said in the sense that, you know, if we want to lower taxes, then let's just do it. I mean, let's just, the millage is necessary, and let's just lower taxes. I mean, I'd like nothing more than to be the guy who lowers taxes. I know for a certain amount of people that voted for me and certain constituency, they'd pat me on the back and shake my hand. And, you know, I did the math just a second ago. If we went, assuming that the millage would bring in by the time we get around to 2025, maybe $75 million. If you got rid of 25% of the millage, that would be maybe $19 million less. And I know Ms. Spray said that we would like to really support some of our workers that are on the lower end of the pay scale. Well, that's $19 million. It's not available to do that. And we're going to have some tough budget discussions coming up because as the ESSER money goes away, I'd like to give a 50-cent per hour raise to maybe some of our custodial workers. And I don't know, I know food is done by grants, but I don't know. But the point is that's $19 million that's not available for that type of thing that Ms. Spray said she might like to do, and others of us might like to do. And then if you do, you know, for me, I might be somewhere in the average homeowner valuation in the county, and it would save me about $9 or $10 a month on my taxes. $9 or $10 a month. I mean, it's money. I don't mean to make light of it. Everybody's tax money is important. Every dollar is important. But then I have to make a calculation as one citizen, and I say, you can keep my $9 or $10 if you tell me that we're going to use it for important things within the school system. If you tell me that it's the difference between a custodial worker or a food service worker getting a 50-cent, you know, an hour raise or not, in a time of rising inflation and rising housing prices, you can keep my $9.37 a month. And that's why I'm supporting the full mill, because in the current environment that we're in, we don't need any, when I say we don't need, I mean, there's an ever-expanding appetite for need within government. But in the current environment that we are in right now, the current level of millage is something that we do need to maintain the high-quality school system that is required by the Constitution of the state of Florida. And I've actually been thinking about that a lot. We have a fiduciary responsibility up here as board members, and we have a constitutional responsibility. And like I said, as much as I'd like to be the guy who lowers people's taxes, and pat me on the back, and all that kind of stuff, to make sure that we have a high-quality school system as required by the Constitution, and to make sure that we're financially responsible, we need the current level of millage that we have. And so I guess those are my public comments on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I don't see any other board members lit up to speak. So Mr. Dye, do we need to take a break to be able to add the language on this piece of paper, the proposed title language, to change that before we actually approve this document?
I think you probably need a break too.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So why don't we do that?
All right, perfect. Yeah, go ahead and do that. So we'll go on 10-minute recess. 12:10, we're reviewing. All right, welcome back after a much needed break, I think, from some folks. So, board, we have the new or the amended resolution with the new title on it in front of us. There's no other changes made to it. And so the third page here, you'll see that the title up at the top, continued funding for student achievement through renewal of ad valorem millage referendum. I think before we send this over, we'll go through and have reread everything to make sure everything's spelled right and things like that, which, I mean, it looks fine, Mr. Chapman. So, but just the whole document we can reread to make sure we didn't spell anything wrong. So other than that, I think we're ready to vote on the current resolution as amended. I'm sorry, Ms. Sprague, you have something to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that while everyone can bring up their key points about whether we support athletics, arts, and we have safety and security on here, that is a driving force for me for this. I also had to bring up my points on my personal belief on this too. I'll support what this board does. And that I want to make clear that, you know, I'm on other, in other organizations, and they make decisions, and I support those decisions as well. Some I don't. But I'm not going to be the person out here bad-mouthing all of the board members for what they believe in. That is just not my style. I'm more about, I can have my personal opinion. I'm entitled to that personal opinion. But I just want everyone to understand that. So I just wanted to put it on the record, I guess.
On the record.
On the record.
For the record.
For the record. Oh, my goodness.
I know, well, here, I'm sure.
Can't take that line from anybody.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I don't see any other board members lit up to speak. So when we vote on this motion to approve, which we had on the original motion, who was it? I don't remember who the original motion was.
It's me and Mr. Tatum second.
Second it, okay. And so let's go ahead and cast our votes for the as amended version, which was we changed the title. And it passes 5-0. Thank you all very much. Good discussion, and I'm sure we'll have more and more as we move forward with it in the coming years, and hopefully the community knows how much we need it, and it does great things here for our district. So excited to have that moving forward. New business, no superintendent recommendation. Item number 1, approval to renew the professional services contract, God bless you, with Cherry Beckert to provide financial auditing services and accounting services fiscal year 23-24. Estimated amount of $175,800.
So moved.
I'll second.
I got a motion and a second. Any discussion needed for this item, Ms. Foreman?
I just want to comment that this is the last year of a 5-year contract with Cherry Beckert. And the amount of the fee is established by the contract 5 years ago, and it was a fixed amount. We had a little bit of a snafu last year, but Mr. Dye saved the day on that one. And so, and I did go back and double check that this amount matches what's in that contract. And so just want to reassure the board on that.
Perfect. I guess I have a quick question on this. Since it is their last year, obviously, probably not till maybe January. We've talked about CRI and the auditing and that sort of thing, but nothing about this from the audit committee. Is this something that will be brought to us again in RFP, RFQ, et cetera? Okay.
Yeah, and we're required by statute to have this done by an auditor selection committee.
Correct.
And the auditor selection committee is made up of the
The
members of the audit
committee, yeah.
So it's a little,
Like two in the same one, yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All right, seeing no other board members lit up to comment, we can go ahead and vote on the approval to renew the contract with Cherry and Beckert. Passes 5-0. Item number 2, under new business, approval of travel expenses associated with school board members attendance to the FSBA School Finance 2.0 to not exceed $3,000. I know myself, Mr. Tatum, I think, was Foreman. Awesome.
I'll make the motion.
We have a
I'll
motion.
miss you. I'm hoping to be experiencing
A new grandbaby, right? Yeah, that's awesome.
I'll second.
More important. I motion and a second. Any discussion needed for this item?
Maybe just real quick,
Yeah.
just to let people know, it is a trip to become more educated on the financing process for schools in the state of Florida. And that's what it's about, just so the public knows that we're
Yeah.
doing something productive with this trip. So that's it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
It'll help. All right. Go ahead and vote on the approval of the travel expenses for the 3 board members to the FSBA School Finance Forum. Passes 5-0. Moving down to items for updates. Item number 17, instruction. Mr. Jensen.
Wait, don't you need 15 and 16 there?
There's nothing there for 15. No more public. There was no public comment. Continued. 16, information only, year-to-date stuff, and 17, Mr. Jensen.
All right.
Well, again, Chair Choate, board members, Superintendent Weissong, just a few quick instructional updates. At the February 13th meeting, Ms. Fleming presented the Social Studies Adoption Committee recommendations for the Social Studies adoption, and the school board approved that agenda item. This is an update to let you know that the 30-day objection window has closed without any community objections received. And so the next steps in that process is now that curriculum will move forward with purchasing those K-12 materials as recommended by the committee. Then the curriculum department will begin engaging teachers across the district in the curriculum writing process for those new instructional materials. And we'll begin professional learning throughout the spring and summer in alignment with those new materials, which will be delivered to schools and ready to implement for the next school year. I just wanted to thank our curriculum team, our teachers, our school administrators, our parents, and community members for participating in the adoption process. They did a great service to the district. We also have another adoption currently going on for our science instructional materials. That adoption process is underway. Our teachers and school administrators are currently reviewing the materials, and they're able to vote on their preferred selections through this Friday, March 22nd. The adoption committee will next meet on April 2nd at the PSC to select their final recommendations for adoption, and then those committee recommendations and a presentation will be brought to the board at an upcoming meeting. And then some upcoming events related to the instructional side of the house. We have Arts Alive, which is our annual celebration of the arts in Manatee County, featuring K-12 student performers, a silent student art auction, hors d'oeuvres, and a celebration of legacy leaders in the arts. It's presented by the Manatee Arts Education Council, and it'll be Friday, April 5th from 5:30 to 8 p.m. at the State College of Florida. The reception's from 5:30 to 6:30, and the program begins at 6:30. We also have our Manatee County Arts exhibit featuring artwork from pre-K through 12 student artists from across the district. Opening night is Thursday, April 11th at Art Center Manatee, including a short award ceremony at 6 p.m. If anyone's unable to attend the opening night reception, the gallery will be on display until Friday, April 26th. And then finally, our current high school juniors are invited to junior night at MTC on April 4th from 6 to 8 p.m. During that event, students and families can get prepared for their senior year. So they'll have access to college preparation tips, testing tips, resume writing, college applications, and all kinds of other information that'll help them prepare for their senior year. Additionally, we have students in schools that are very well representing Manatee across a variety of state conferences for career and technical education in April. We have 10 schools participating in the HOSA State Conference, 3 schools participating in the FCCLA, and 3 schools participating in the Skills USA State Conference this month. So lots of great news.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Mr. Rinaldi.
Good afternoon, board members, Dr. Weissong. A couple items, human resources. March, we do not have any job fairs because of spring break. April 4th, coming out of spring break, we're moving quickly. We'll be doing an operational job fair at the Wakeland from 9 a.m. to 1 o'clock p.m. The annual Great Florida Teach-In will be occurring in Lakeland on Saturday, April 13th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And we will have representatives on site, so we will be participating in that. The Spring Teacher Paraprofessional Job Fair, which is our big job fair, will occur on Saturday, April 20th from 9 o'clock till noon at MTC. So those are events we have coming up. A little brief on transportation. Currently, we started a class yesterday, and we have 2 drivers in training. In addition to that class, we also have 4 additional drivers that are doing their training, and they'll be route ready immediately after spring break. So we'll have 4 additional drivers. The transportation roster for the first time is up to 97 drivers. That is actually over the number of dedicated routes that we have. We do have some drivers that are on leave, about 4 drivers that are on leave, but for the first time, we're pretty close to 100% on route coverage at this time. Our next class for attendance will be occurring immediately after spring break. This week, we also started our electric bus pilot. We had 4 buses out on Monday, varying routes. We kind of spread them throughout the district. The drivers had extensive training. Our mechanics had training as well from both manufacturers. So we're beginning to kick the tires and see what their range, what their operations. So I'll give you an update, hopefully a good update at the next board meeting on how we're progressing. The other thing we have going on is our Driver's Choice Attendance Grant. So we just wrapped up the first 9 weeks of the second semester. We had 46 bus drivers, which was just a little bit under 50%, 66 bus attendants that achieved the attendance in order to receive that grant. Now, immediately after spring break, everyone is eligible for the second part as well. You're only eligible for the third part of that grant if you've made both the first 9 weeks and the second 9 weeks. So 50% of those individuals are still eligible for that next grant. Food service, they always have a couple items. Food and Nutrition Service partnered with Mrs. Naminsky's 5th grade class at Williams Elementary to take lettuce from the classroom to the table. Students harvested lettuce that was grown in aeroponic towers in their classroom and then worked with food service staff in the kitchen to prepare taco salads for staff and the principal. Students learned how to wash and cut the produce and prepare the salads as well as make homemade vinaigrette dressings. So that's an issue they had going on. And then March 4th through 8th was National School Breakfast Week. There were a number of, the theme was Surfs Up. They offered egg bites, mini chicken biscuit bites, and breakfast nachos to the students during that week. One thing I wanted to recognize is that in the consent agenda, under personnel, we had Mr. Reginald Goff was now our interim director of construction services. And Reggie's here. I'd also like to thank Mr. Horton for his tenure with the district. He actually was instrumental in getting all of the major COPS project up and running. And on the agenda, on your consent agenda, was the K-8 project is now in the first phase of the GMP. So all of our major projects from the capital budget in 23-24 are now up and running, and we're getting ready for next year. But thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything with legal?
Just real quick, as the legislative session comes to an end, we're starting to go through the process of reviewing things that got passed in the last couple months. I'm sure the board will be exposed to that as well in your organizations that you attend. And a reminder, as you're getting ready to go on spring break, I'm going on vacation. I'll be out for 2 weeks, but Patty Petroff and Chuck Pratt will be covering for me and also be available for things that come up during that time period.
Thank you. Anything? All right, Superintendent?
Thank you, Chairman. Board members, on behalf of the 6,250 employees that I have the privilege of leading, I want to thank you for your leadership today and the process that you've been undertaking really for the last 2 months now, and to have unanimous support for the millage resolution sends a very important message to our employees at what is one of the longest stretches of the school year without a break. And so I know that today's vote will put a lot of minds at ease within our workforce. So I appreciate your leadership. I also want to thank my leadership team because they've worked very diligently to make this timeline work, including setting some things up in February and then today to give you a little bit lighter agenda so that you would have the time in the last workshop and in this meeting to have the conversation among the 5 of you. And since this didn't come up in the discussion today, on your behalf, I'll remind the viewing public that because of sunshine, you don't get to talk to each other about this. And my team and I cannot be conduits between or among you. And so you never know how that's going to go. And again, I just appreciate your focus and your commitment to this work, and then to my team as well for all the supporting effort. We did have 24 items on today's consent agenda. There are a couple of really exciting instructional purchases that you authorized today as we continue to innovate in our elementary robotics space, all the way up through some new patient simulators for health programs at Manatee Technical College. Again, that innovation through imagination tagline continues as part of our strategic plan. Mr. Rinaldi already covered the human resources transition. Again, just my personal thanks to Mr. Horton for his leadership. I learned a lot from him in my short time here, and I know he's set us up to do well, and there is very high confidence that Mr. Goff is going to make all of these ambitious construction timelines so that we can get some new schools open in August of 25. Also on the consent agenda was the approval of 5 more media center renovations. So that's 5 more schools that will have modernized places for students to gather and collaborate and focus on their literacy acquisition. And then finally, board members, you also approved the School District of Manatee County's participation in a statewide mutual aid agreement for emergency management purposes. So essentially, if a very difficult weather event impacts another part of the state and we're not impacted, gives us the opportunity to assist other districts to help them get their schools open. And in the event we ever experience that type of event, we'll have the support of other districts from around the state that were not impacted. And of course, all of that gets FEMA reimbursed, but having all of those agreements in place really allows that state level coordination and fast deployment of resources in the event of an emergency. So it's a great opportunity for all of us to work together. On Thursday, board members, we have a 1-item special board meeting on an employee matter, and then a school board workshop on a variety of topics, most of them policy related. And then with the millage resolution item concluded in terms of the board's piece, will now turn in April and May in our workshops to a lot of operational topics that will, help contour the start of the 24-25 school year. So you'll start to see some safety and security items. We'll be bringing you a transportation update and some short and long-term planning around those systems. And then there'll be, again, a variety of other operational topics, along with code of conduct, student progression plan. All of those pieces we need to have in place for August 12th and the start of school in 2024. Also on Thursday, we'll have a small delegation at the Board of County Commissioners land use meeting. There are 4 items on that agenda that impact our work, and we are hopeful to receive the Commission's approval to get going on the East K-8 construction project, the North Middle School construction project, the additional building at Parish Community High, and then the Manatee Technical College Law Enforcement Academy expansion with the shooting range on the east part of the county. So all 4 of those items are in front of the Board of County Commissioners land use meeting on Thursday, and we are ready to go. In fact, there may be, if approved, there may be a cabinet meeting on Friday out at the K-8 site, because we're going to try to dig a few holes to get Mr. Goff and his team started. So cabinet may be out moving dirt on Friday. Since our last meeting, board members, I've continued my visits to schools, and thanks to all of you for joining me on those. We've visited Seabreeze Elementary, Braden River Elementary, Braden River Middle, Bashaw, Canaan, Palmasola, and then tomorrow heading out to Mills and Hale. That will actually conclude my first round tour of all of the district managed schools in the district, and that allows me to get out in April and May and see some things that principals talked about that I may have missed on specific visits. So I'm looking forward to that. Also, since our last meeting on March 5th at Southeast High School, my team and I brought 46 of our graduating seniors who are leaders in various roles at their high schools together to get their feedback. And you may remember last October when I did my 100-day report, I talked about student leadership as an opportunity here to kind of an untapped opportunity. And so we spent a half day with those 46 seniors, and they gave us input on a variety of topics, everything from school safety to college and career planning. And we're actually planning for a couple of those students to speak to you at the second board meeting in April to kind of share that experience. And then board members, we've collected and preserved all the feedback from that session, and all of that will be prepared and shared with you just so you have some input from a very influential group of graduating seniors. And certainly this will be the first of more of these. I'd like to get to the point where we're doing them quarterly with our student leaders in a variety of areas. And then two additional notes. After we return from spring break, I will be at the Florida Association of District School Superintendents spring conference. That's where the superintendents get together and look at the legislative changes and compare notes on budget and staffing and a variety of issues. So I'm looking forward to that professional learning opportunity for me. And then a scheduling note for you. Commissioner Diaz has notified superintendents and state college presidents that there'll be a summit that he's convening, and our attendance is expected. And that will be Friday, May 31st in Miami. We have a board workshop that day, and so I'll reach out to you soon to identify an alternate date for that workshop so that I can be here to address whatever matters you wish. Finally, today is the second day of the fourth quarter of our academic year. And of course, we have spring break next week. And just a reminder that schools are closed, so are district offices. There are critical staff members working next week to keep operations projects moving and some planning items for next year. But for much of the rest of the team, it's a well-deserved week off. There's amazing work happening in our schools right now, and we very much need our teachers and classroom assistants and school leaders to take a break, decompress next week, and get ready. What I've talked with our leadership team is about is a reminder that we return Monday, April 1st, and we have 20 instructional days to try to really focus and work with students on those last pieces before we go into state assessments in May. And so to all of our employees, I wish you a restful week off and get ready, because it's game on in April as we get ready for state assessments. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Lead us to our board comments. I've got Ms. Foreman, Ms. Messenger, Mr. Tatum, Ms. Spray, myself. So, Ms. Foreman.
Thank you. Congratulations, Mr. Goff. Really excited. I'm confident you will be awesome. So we expect you to exceed the timelines, and get, we want it done now. I happened to be upstairs in the conference room of the by the board agency clerk, and saw all of the ideas that the students had come up with, and I just thought it was just amazing, and really, they're going to have a perspective that none of our staff are going to have, and so I think we're going to learn a lot, and I commend you for that. That's really exciting. I just encourage that we follow up and listen to the student voice and actually put some of it in place. And then another item on today's consent agenda that I thought was really cool is that we are going to be participating in something that I guess it's been around, but we've never participated, is that we can get 2 Florida prepaid college scholarships for students in our district. And just by sending out the flyers and all for prepaid college. So a little bit of marketing for the prepaid program, and 2 of our students are going to have grow up with get through our school system with a scholarship. So I thought that was really, that's nice. So very nice. Mr. Horton, thank you so much for you have been amazing, and a lot going on in these last, certainly the 4 years that I've been on the board, and before that, a lot of changes, a lot of growth, and you're leaving big shoes, but you trained up a good guy behind you. So, and that's all. I'll wish everybody happy spring break. Rest up. Enjoy. You certainly deserve it. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Messenger.
I'm going to share a lot of what Mrs. Foreman just said in thanking Mr. Horton, and I appreciate Mr. Goff being willing to step in. And I think the timelines are fine, but she's a taskmaster. So. Also, we actually did get to go to Williams too. That wasn't on your list, but we did go there, and that was a really good experience as well. I don't really have much to say other than I'm proud of this board, and I'm proud to be part of this board today. And that I hope everyone enjoys their spring break and has a safe, restful, and fun spring break. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tatum?
Good afternoon. So I had the privilege last Thursday of attending the JROTC Military Ball, and I also had the privilege of speaking to the students there and the cadets, as we call them, in the military. And so that was an encouraging event, especially for someone who's a veteran. And the theme of my speech was, we are our brothers and sisters keepers. And and I try to make a point to the students and the cadets, and I want to make it again here, especially maybe teachers that are watching. It's summed up in what Ms. Spray has come up with, her very catchy phrase, safety above secrets, or safety before secrets. But it's this idea that if we're going to be looking out for each other's best interests, it's better if people are involved in actions that are harmful to themselves or other people. It's better to confront them about that, or if we don't feel comfortable confronting them, to then go to a person who's in a position of authority who can do something about that. Because we're not doing anybody any favors if they're involved in activity that's harmful to themselves or potentially harmful to themselves or other people. And here I'm thinking about things, not just bringing weapons and things like that on campus, but bringing drugs on campus, tasers on campus, just activity that's, we kind of know in the back of when the hair stands up on the back of our head, it tells us in our spirit, like, man, that's really dangerous activity. You're going to hurt yourself, you're going to hurt somebody else, and as your friend and someone who wants to be kind of your keeper, I need to confront you about it, or at least get someone involved in the situation to prevent a tragedy from happening. Which then leads into my safety point for the week, which ties into this, is that we're still having problems with weapons and stuff and other things being taken out of cars, and if we could just do a better job, and I continually just want to make that point of locking our car doors. At least the sheriff says on our county that a lot of our crime problems and then the consequences of things found in cars that cause crimes would go down significantly. So let's keep working on that, and that's a message we can pass along to our students too, both about being our brothers and sisters keepers. And you can talk to your parents, hey Dad, did you lock your car? You know, I know you got something in your car, did you lock it? Or go out there and do it yourself, you know. Be your brothers and sisters keepers to our parents. There we go. And help them keep their cars locked. So, and then finally, remember it's voting day, and there's not a lot going on necessarily on the ballot. There was only one ballot item when I went to vote on my ballot, but I think it's a good civic practice to get in the habit of voting and not just say, well, it's not really important. You know, let's keep ourselves in the habit of voting as much as we can. That's my suggestion. And just a reminder today that you can only go, I believe, to your, well, this is going to be something later down the road, but the reminder on the day of the election, you can only go to your assigned voting place to vote. Whereas in early elections, there are different places, but on the day of voting, you have to go to your assigned precinct. And if you have a mail-in ballot, you have to take it downtown. You can't bring it to you can't show up with like your ballot, your absentee ballot, and then drop it in the box at your assigned voting place. You think that would be the case, but it's not. And I know that personally from standing at the voting booth areas during the last election, that there were hundreds of people that showed up thinking they could just drop their absentee ballot at their voting precinct, and that's not how it works. You have to drive all the way downtown to the supervisor of election to do that. So just some education for people on how voting works in the county. And did I have anything else? I did want to mention one thing about in the information only section, item number 2, year-to-date charter school financial statement summary. There are some charter schools that appear to be struggling financially, and so I want the public to know that we do have our eyes on that, and that the staff has our eyes on that too, and that if you're a fan of one of these charter schools, or you want to support these charter schools, now's the time to see what you could do to possibly help, because there are some charter schools that are having some financial difficulty, and I'm just bringing that to the attention of the public to let them know that we're watching it. And also for those who have a particular charter school that maybe they want to support, they are non-profits, and you can make donations to those schools. I'm not suggesting that you do necessarily. My point is that there are some that are struggling, and our eyes are on it. And if the community would like to support them, then now's the time to do it. And that is the end of my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Ray?
First of all, echo again, Mr. Horton, that year plus I've been here, from my maintenance experience to your building experience. We share a lot of different similarities, I would say. And Mr. Golf, you've got big shoes to fill, but I am 100% confident you will do that. and I'm excited to see how you progress in your new leadership role in this field. I want to say thank you to all of the retirees that we have on our administrative changes. We have 27.6 years for Miss Deborah, a social worker. That's a long time. 21 years for Kathy as a teacher at Southeast. 12 years for Miss Mary for reading. 12's for Nancy at Prime. And then you can go down into the other, a teacher pre-K handicap. That's a hard role there. 21 years in that role. I want to thank them for their service, Diane. And then a kindergarten teacher with 25 years. That's extraordinary for me. That shows dedication to the role that they're in. To the bus drivers who are retiring, thank you all for your service. We hope we can fill your shoes as well and have the same dedication that you have. Some 15 years, one 19, almost 20 years. Another school registrar, 29 years. So I always want to recognize the retirees of our district. And it's been very busy for me. Still going to tennis matches. Plan to go to one this afternoon, I hope. And it's really encouraging when you go out to the games, either a football game, the tennis matches. In the background, you hear the baseball going on. And in the field, you see the ROTC students all practicing. So it's a lot of after-school activity that goes on in our district, and I enjoy watching it all, to be honest with you. And then, two, I want to say to everybody, safety over secrets during spring break. And I want to say, I hope I can say this for the board, our hearts goes out to the victim that was shot. That's tragic, and that's why we continually to say safety over secrets, because that's what we need. And be your brother, sister's keeper. You might hear or see something that you just don't think is right, like Mr. Tatum said. We have ways that you can report that is total anonymity. Do that, because I would rather you do that than to go to a funeral. And that's basically what we always say safety over secrets is about. So other than that, I think, do we have a groundbreaking coming up on Friday, I believe? Am I right or not? Has that been canceled and changed, right? Okay, so and we do have that workshop and meeting on Thursday. So other than that, I think it was a good meeting. There is a policy I would like to look at that I'm gonna recommend that we review. So I won't bring that up now, but thanks to everybody for listening to my soapbox issue, and thank you.
Thanks. Good meeting. Thank you to staff, putting everything together. I know I've said it before, but a lot of stuff obviously happens prior weeks before we get here, and especially with consent items. So thank you, Dr. Weissong and the staff. And I reiterate what everybody else said. Mr. Horton, thank you very much for your service. And you've trained Mr. Goff well. I'm sure we'll be fine. And if not, we'll be calling you. Just kidding. Just kidding. Yeah, thank you for your service. Appreciate it. And to Dr. Weissong, I forgot to send the first pitch video, but I do have that from. We haven't met before. I don't think we've met after the first pitch of the out there at LECOM, but it was a good throw. So you're off the hook there. Actually had one of our old Braden River students sang the national anthem that day. It was phenomenal. So that was a really fun day at the park, and I really do enjoy. It's something that previous superintendent did not do, at least with me. Bless you. Is the visits to the schools with you. I really have enjoyed that. We went to Canaan, and it's been great. And we made a friend and a cousin, and so it was good. But I really do enjoy the perspective of when you're there and the questions you ask that, it's just different, right? So I do appreciate you putting us on those. Other than that, yeah, I agree. This spring break, everybody, the kids, everybody, the teachers, have fun, but be safe, be smart. And I look forward to our meeting on Thursday. And that's all we got.
Real quick, Mr. Horton, thank you. Well done, good and faithful service. And Mr. Goff, don't screw it up.
Easy. Don't screw it up. All right, and that's it. Thank y'all.